Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your channel of Math and Engineering Made Easy. Today, I will do a last Regents exam of Algebra 2, and this one is from January 2024, I believe. Okay, so as usual, I'm going to start with the part one, and then tomorrow I may finish the whole test, or maybe we do half and then we do the other half, or in fact, Monday we'll do either part two or all of them, depending on how long it's going to take. So as usual, I'm going to start with part one. Part one is 24 questions. Each one is worth 2 points or 2 credits. So the first equation said, or the first problem says, a cafeteria food manager studied the lunchtime eating habits of a group of employees in their office building. The purpose of the study was to determine the proportion of employees who purchased lunch in the cafeteria, brought their lunch from home, or purchased lunch from an outside vendor. And this collection of data would best be classified as what? As a census? No, that's a group of group of employees, not all the employees, right? An experiment? No, we didn't design anything, right? So and of course, it's not a simulation, so it has to be an observational study. We are observing the people who are coming or the employees, and we ask them. So we observe what's happening. We didn't design or prepare anything. Which graph has imaginary roots? Of course, the one that doesn't intersect the x-axis, because root meaning a solution, or zeros, or x-intercepts. All of these 4 terms mean the same thing here if you have only one graph, because solution, if you have only 2, would be the intersection of them. So that intersects at 2 points, 1 point, 2 points, and nothing. So that is 2. So these are easy questions. Let's go to number 3. Okay, given 3 is a root of f of x, what are the other unique, that may be an important word here, unique roots of f of x? Well, here all the terms are multiplied by x. So one of the roots is x equals 0, right? We know that. So we can exclude 1 and 3 because they don't have 0, unless we have, no, we can't have more than 1 0. So we can exclude 1 and 3. Now, to find, if we know that one of the roots is 3, I can divide this equation after dividing by x. So that would be x cubed minus x squared minus 21x plus 45. I can divide this by x minus 3 as a long division, or easier, since they already have the root, I can divide that using synthetic division. So x cubed is 1, x squared is -1, -21, and positive 45. I already know the 0. I already know the 3. 1 times 3 is 3, minus 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. -21 would be -15. Times 3 is 45. I'm sorry, -45. I add them, I get 0. So now that reduces the order of this equation. It becomes x squared plus twice x minus, excuse me, equals 0. So I want to have 2 factors of 15 that when I multiply them, of course, I get -15. But when I add them, I get +2. Of course, the only way you can do that is x plus 5 times x minus 3, right? So you get either x equals -5 or x equals 3. X equals 3 was another root, so it's not unique, right? Because 3 and 3, that's the same. So I can exclude them and get 0, which we already found because all the terms were multiplied by 0, and -5. So that would be 2. In fact, this is even -3. If they had made this +3, maybe we could have fell into the trap of the word unique roots. Unique meaning is not, it's not like this guy, for example. Okay. If we move to the next question, it says, given P doesn't equal Q and P equals 1/2 to the power of Q expressed in logarithmic form is equivalent to which one of those? So we can take the log of both sides. We get log P equals log 1/2 to the power of Q. I know that if I take a log of an exponent, the exponent becomes a multiplier. Log or natural log, it doesn't matter, right? So now I can solve for Q. I say Q equals log of P divided by log of 1/2. And you should know that this is log to the base of 1/2 of P, which is 3. Remember that when you have a log to any base, let's say, for example, log to a base of 3 of x, and you don't have, of any number, like x would be any number. And since you don't have log 3 in the calculator, we say you can make that log of x divided by log of 3, or natural log of x divided by natural log of 3, and that's how you can solve it. So that's the same concept. I can go from here to here by saying it's the log of P divided by the log of the base. Which graph best represents the graph of f of x? So here I have 2 roots, one of them, in fact, 3 roots, because that's a third degree. So I have A, negative A, and B. B is positive, so that has a positive. A is negative, so I have A is negative. Here I have 3 distinct roots, so I can exclude 2 and 4. And now the question is, which one of them, right? We know that that's a third degree parabola, okay? But that's not the important issue. I have to look at the coefficient of, or the leading coefficient. Now, if you don't have to, factor, or there are factors, you don't need to expand everything. You just need to look at the leading coefficient. So this is x squared, this is x, you get x cubed, meaning the leading coefficient is positive 1. And since it's positive, it means the right end is going up, right? Of course, the left is going down because that's a third degree. So 3 is odd, and odd means they are opposite, right? So it should be this guy. The right-hand side is going up, so it's positive. I have, it doesn't cross at negative A because I have 2 of them. If the multiplicity is even, it doesn't cross. And B, it crosses at B. So that's definitely it. And that's number 5. You don't want to waste time. I'm wasting your time, I know. Oh, this one didn't print well. So this is the rest of the problem. Okay, it tells you the equations y equals 3t plus 6 and y equals 1.82 to the power of t approximately model the growth of 2 separate populations where t equals 0. What is the best approximation of the time t at which populations are the same? So you want to set, you can do that, of course, with a calculator in 2 different ways. I can say if y equals that and y equals that, so these 2 equal each other, and I subtract, say, 1.82t, so I get 3t plus 6 minus 1.82 to the power of t, and plot the graph and find the 0, right? Another way to do it is to do 2 different graphs and look at the point of intersection. It's the same exact thing. So let's see what we get. In fact, I will use 2 of them. So the first equation is 3x plus 6. The second equation is 1.82 to the power of x. Since they give me values between -2 and positive. So let's say the window, I will go from -2 to what, 22, for example. And then if this is -2, that would be 0. So I go from 0. And then if it's 22, 60, like 70, something like that. And I graph it. Okay. And then I look at the point of intersection. So I go to calc, intersect is 5. It asks me about the first graph. So I'm going to go, let's say roughly here. You don't have to be the second graph. Maybe the same thing. Guess, whatever. So I get 5.11. 5.1 is 3. There is no calculation here, right? Number 7, it says the rational expression is equivalent to what? Okay, so since we did synthetic division there, I will do long division here, just so that, oh, here I don't have x cubed. So it's better always to say plus 0x cubed. Okay, the reason is when you do the subtraction, you cannot subtract. Sometimes if you don't get it right, you would subtract the coefficient of x cubed from x squared. So to play it safe, we are going to do that. And you divide that by x minus 3, or you can use synthetic division and make that 3, exactly like we did last time. You divide this, you get 2x cubed times x, of course, it's 2x to the 4 minus 6x cubed. And then you're going to subtract. So these cancel. Negative times negative is positive 6x cubed minus 5x squared plus 3x minus 2. Divide this, you get plus 6x squared. In fact, if you look here, you know it's already 2, right? This is the only one that has positive 6. This is negative 6. So if you didn't subtract properly, you will get negative. Maybe they anticipated that. And of course, it's not 5x. There is an x squared term, right? So we can stop here. If you continue, you should get the same result, but it's a waste of time. I don't want to waste your time. We move to, is that 7 or 8? We did, I think it didn't, oh no, that was 8. Oh, so I missed one. I'm sorry. I thought this was, I said we did 6, so that should be 7. I skipped 7 and I did 8. I thought this was part of the previous problem because it didn't print properly. Given y equals negative 2x, and this is a circle, right? Of the point of intersection in quadrant 2 is, well, we know we have two solutions. So one of them would be like in the second quadrant, x is negative and y is positive, right? I know that. So that's a quadratic equation. So I'm going to write x squared plus y squared, but y is negative 2x. So plus negative 2x quantity squared equals 5. It's an easy equation. This is x squared plus 4x squared equals 5. So 5x squared equals 5. So x squared equals 1. So x equals plus or minus 1. Square root of 1, which is 1. I know that positive 1 is in the first or fourth quadrant. In fact, it would be in the fourth because the y is negative. But y equals negative 1. So I'm sorry, x equals negative 1 and y is negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. That is in the second quadrant. So that's correct. Negative 1 and 2 is 4. If I took 1, I get 1 and negative 2, which is this one, but that's not the second quadrant, right? X is positive, meaning to the right. Y is negative, meaning down. I am in the fourth quadrant, quadrant 4. So be careful which one. Okay, we already did 8. So here we have 9, 10, and 11. The equation of the parabola that has its focus at -3 and 2 and directrix is y equals 0, meaning the vertex would be at negative 3 and 1. So it would be x plus 3 square plus 1. So it's either 1 or 3, right? These are the vertex is at positive 3. Now, which one of the two? How do you know? Yes, that distance or that distance, it doesn't matter because that's a parabola. They are equal. That is P, 4P. I'm sorry, 4P. 4P, notice this is at 1 and this is y equals 0. So 4P equals 1, meaning P equals a quarter. And that's a quarter, that's 1/8. So it should be 1, right? The seventh term of the geometric sequence is what? Well, that's a geometric sequence. So I can find the ratio, which is negative 2 root 3 over root 6. That can be written as negative 2 root 3 over root 2 times root 3. And I can also simplify 2 over root 2 is negative root 2. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to multiply the negative 4 root 3 by negative root 2 cubed, right? Each time you multiply by negative root 2. So the fifth, the sixth is squared, the seventh is cubed. Negative times negative times negative is negative, times negative is positive. And then this would be 4 root 3 times 2 root 2, right? Root 2 times root 2 is 2 times root 2 is 2 root. 4 times 2 is 8, and root 3 times root 2 is 6, so that's 3. So far, these are easy. A company wishes to determine the cooking time for 1 pound of spaghetti. The company's techniques cooked 1 pound of spaghetti and recorded the time needed for the spaghetti to be ready to eat, repeating the process 35 times. So we are doing like a simulation, resulted in an approximately normally distributed with a mean of 9.82 and a standard deviation of 1.4 minutes. In which interval should the middle 95% of cooking times fall? We know for simulation, we say this is 2. Really, if it's normally distributed, we say it's 1.96, but I know in your case, you use 2 because you are not going to use the calculator. So, or you can use it just to find which one of those. So I have 9.82 plus or minus 2 times 1.4. So the lowest would be 982 minus 2.8, which is 702. And the highest is 982 plus 2.8 is 1262. Yeah, so that's number 2, 702 to 1262. Okay, sorry if I'm going fast, but you can, I think it's clear. Alrighty, given that f of x and g of x, what is f of x divided by g of x? What's another division? Okay, 2x squared plus 7x minus 15. When you do long division, you have to make, notice you can say, well, 3 equals 2x, so x is 3 halves, and you use 3 halves here with synthetic division. But when you divide, you have to write it in the proper order, meaning the standard order. You have to write the x first, then the constant, not the other way around. Dividing this by that, positive by negative is negative, 2 by 2 is 1, x squared over x is x. So it's negative x, one of these two. Negative x will give you positive 2x squared minus 3x. Then you subtract. So these cancel. Negative times negative is positive. 7 plus 3 is 10x minus 15. You divide 10x by negative 2x, you get negative 5. Positive 10x minus 15, subtracting, they cancel. So it's negative x minus 5, which is 1. Alrighty. Which equation is equivalent to that? And all of them have cube. So the easiest way, because you have 3 in the denominator, you can write this as P equals 210 cube root of x to the 4/3 times y to the 7/3. Well, x to the 4/3, oh, I'm sorry, x to the 4 and y to the, I already took the cube root, I'm sorry. X to the 4, meaning x cubed times x. So x cubed will go out as x, and it leaves x inside. 7 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6, so you get y squared, and that leaves y inside. So that would be the simplification. 210. These don't have 210. Xy squared. What is that? What's the 5? Okay, xy is 3. I don't know what they want. Okay, the average cost of a gallon of milk in the United States between the years 1995 and 2018 can be modeled by this equation. During this period, in what year did PT reach its max? Okay. So again, we can, let's clear those. I can enter this equation, negative 0.0004 x cubed plus 0.0114 x squared minus 0.015 x plus 2.6602. I can make the window what from, let's say 0. These are like 23 or something. And this is like 2.66. So we can say this is from 3 to, I don't know, maybe you say 10 or something. And then we see, no, gallon of milk will not be that high. So let's make that maybe 5. It doesn't matter. We are going to look at, we don't need really the actual value here. We need the maximum. So we can go back to calc. Maximum is 4. So it tells you to the left. I may come, I say maybe this is the left bound. And maybe this is the right bound. I don't have a guess. 18.3. Okay, so if I add 18 to 1955, that's 5. So 2013, and it's during that year, like 0.3, meaning like what, 4 months or something. So to 2013. Okay, if this is 1995, they tell you they start, so this is year 1. Or year 0 probably, year 0. So you add 13, you get 2013. Okay, that's number 14. Okay, so far so good. 24 minutes, not that much. Number 15, the temperature in Fahrenheit is that. What was the temperature? Oh, what of what? After 3 hours of a roast put into an oven. What was the temperature of the roast when it was first or put in the oven? Meaning at T equals 0. So some students will say, oh, 0, so it has to be 325. No, be careful. Where T is 0. So when T is 0, 185 times e to the 0 is 185 times 1, not 0. E to the 0 is 1. Any number to the 0 is 1. So 325 minus 185 is 140, right? So the answer is 4, not 1. And I bet you many will say 1. The roots of this equation in simplest a plus bi form are, so of course, a here is 1, b is 6, and c is 10. Okay, Sometimes they can give you the equation x squared plus 6x equals negative 10. So the negative 10 is on the other side, and student would say C is negative 10. No, you have to move them all to one side of the equality and then find x, y, or z. Okay, in fact, you can even do that with completing the square. So you don't need, they didn't specify what. So you can say negative b, which is negative 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 36, minus 4 times 1 is 4 times 10 is 40, over twice a, which is 2. So this is negative 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 over 2. This is negative 6 plus or minus square root of 4 is 2. Square root of negative 1 is I over 2. So it's negative 3 plus or minus I, since I simplify top and bottom by 2. So it should be 3. Okay, of course, I can say, well, completing the square, this is x squared plus 6 plus 9, 6x plus 9 plus 1, which is x plus 3 squared plus 1 equals 0. So x plus 3 equals the square equals negative 1. So x plus 3 equals plus or minus I, and then I subtract 3 from both sides. So as I said, you can either complete the square or use the equation. Both are fine. Which equation doesn't represent an identity? This is an identity. X minus y times itself is x minus y squared. Of course, this is correct. That is incorrect. In one video, I show you how to expand x plus or minus y to any power, really, using Pascal triangle, which is my favorite. You know that. Okay, crazy guy. Okay, number 18. Did we miss something? I have to check the numbers because the printer, when it did 2 pages, it took 2 pages at the same time. Just want to make sure it doesn't repeat. Okay, 2 surveys were conducted to estimate the proportion of teens. Okay, so that's statistics. Oh, let me clear that. Oh, so they give you the mean and the standard deviation of a sample of 5 teens and 50 teens, 800 samples, but the sample itself is 5 versus 50. Based on these results, it was determined that approximately 75, 73 and 74, roughly, what is the best explanation of the difference in results? The smaller sample size resulted in a smaller margin of error. No, of course not. To reduce the margin of error, you have to increase. And what is your measure of the margin of error? Yes, the standard deviation. And the standard deviation here is like almost 4 times that, right? So no, that is incorrect. The smaller sample size of 5 resulted in bigger, yes, margin of error, and should provide a more accurate. So more error is more accurate? No, of course not. The larger sample of teens resulted in a smaller, yes, and should provide a more accurate estimate. Yeah, absolutely, 3. And here it says it has bigger margin of error. No, that's strong, of course. Given f of x and inverse, the value of b is. When you solve, you redo it, you find, notice that to find the inverse, we replace the x and the f of x. So that would be x equals inverse of x cubed minus 3. So I have to add 3 to both sides. And I get inverse function of x cubed equals x plus 3, I'm sorry. And then I take the cube root of both sides. Notice here there is no plus or minus because that's an odd. So I get the inverse function of x equals the cube root of x plus 3. comparing these two, I see that 3 is the same as negative 3b. So dividing by negative 3, I get b equals negative 1, which is 2. This is a weird pen. Almost there. We're getting there. Okay. Robert is buying a car that costs $22,000. After a down payment of 4, he borrows the remainder. So P here, which is P is $18,000, right? 6 years, so N equals 6. The interest I per year is 6.24%. The following formula can be used to calculate his monthly loan. So I per month equals 0.0624 divided by 12. It's 0.0052. Okay, so now I have to use the equation to say P, which is 18,000 times I divided by, and I open parentheses, 1 minus 1 plus I is 1.0052 raised to the power of negative 60, right? Oops. That should be it, right? Yeah. $350. What? I don't have that. Wait a second. Did I do something wrong? Times I over 1 minus this. Oh, 6 years. I did 5 years. I said 60, not 72. I'm sorry, guys. I did it for 5 years. Yeah, 300.3. Okay. Oh my God. I can't multiply even. It just came to my mind. It's 60, not 6 years. That's crazy. Alrighty. I'm glad I didn't have a 350. I would have picked it without thinking. Okay. Given tan theta is negative 4/3. Oh, they love quadrant 2, right? We are in the second quadrant, so my angle looks like that. Notice in the second quadrant, you have a negative. Is the negative for the 4 or the 3? Of course, the 3. Why? Because the x is to the left, the y is up. And of course, 3, 4, 5 for Pythagoras. You know that, the Pythagorean theorem. You don't need to say 3 squared plus 4 squared. We know, everybody knows 3, 4, 5, right? So they want secant. Secant of theta, which is 1 over cosine of theta, equals 1 over. The cosine of theta is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that becomes negative 5/3. Or if you know the secant is hypotenuse over adjacent, you can write it directly. Negative 5/3 is 1. 3 more. To solve this equation, Jones' first step is to multiply both sides by the least common denominator, and the least common denominator in this case is x minus 7 times x plus 7. And you need to know which one of those is extraneous solution. It is not correct to jump to conclusion and say, oh, it's 7 and negative 7, because that would make the denominator 0. Yes, that's only if after you solve, you get both of these as roots. So you have to solve the equation first. And then you may not have any extraneous roots if the roots, for example, are negative 1 and 4. So I don't have extraneous solution. Notice they didn't tell you which one of those results in, like 0 denominator or something. No, They didn't say that. They say which statement is true, and all of them are talking about extraneous solutions. So you have to find the solutions first. I may have no, I may have one, I may have both. Okay, so when you multiply, I would multiply the 7 by x minus 7. So that would give me 7x minus 49. I would multiply that by x plus 7. So plus 4x squared plus 28x. And I'm going to multiply that by x plus 7. So I will get 3x squared. And then 3 and 4, meaning 28x. And 7 times 7, 49. Okay, I have 4x squared, so I'm going to subtract 3x squared from both sides. I have to subtract 28x from both sides. And I have to subtract 49 from both sides. So the left-hand side becomes 0, just in one step instead of doing it one by one. These cancel. 4 minus 3 is 1, so I get x squared. 7 plus 7x minus 98. 98 is 7 times 4, right? Because it's twice 49. So I want 7 times 14. I said 7 times 4. Okay, 7 times 14. I want the 14 to be positive and the 7 to be negative, right? When you multiply, you will get negative 98. When you add, you get positive 7x. So x equals negative 14. That's not extraneous, by the way. Negative 14 doesn't make any of these three fractions go to infinity or undefined. Or x equals 7. So only x equals 7 is an extraneous solution, not 7 and negative 7. If I had ended up with like x squared minus 49 equals 0, I would say x squared equals 49 or x equals plus or minus 7. So both would be extraneous. But here I didn't get negative 7. So yes, it would have been an extraneous solution, but it didn't show up here. So why do I say it's an extraneous solution? That was a tricky one. Not hard, but a little tricky. Okay, beginning July 1st, 2019, Michelle deposited $250 into an account that yields 0.15 each month. She continued to make that deposits into the account for 3 years. Which expression? Well, they give you a table to get the geometric series because that's a geometric series. It's A1, which is the first payment, 250. Minus 250 times R, which is, they give you, 0.0015. So you don't need to divide. They give you to you monthly, not annually. Over 1 minus that. So this to the n. And n here is 36, not 3, because this is a monthly payment, not an annual payment, right? So 3 years resulted in 36, not 30 months. I'm crazy. So it's this one. You see 250 minus 250 times 1.0015 to the power of 36 over 1 minus that. In fact, you can write it as a series, and you should know the sum of a geometric series, but that's it. A study of the red-tailed hawk population in a given area shows the population h of t can be represented by the function h of t equals 50 times 1.19 to the t, where t represents the number of years since the study began. In terms of the monthly rate of growth, so basically the monthly is, you divide this, the rate by 12, right? So you can say it's 50 times 1 plus 0.19 over 12 to the power of 12t, right? You divide by 12 inside and you multiply in the exponent. 0.19 over 12, 0.158. Well, so it should be 1, right? 1 plus that is 1 point, so this is 50 times 1.0158 to the 12t. Well, they don't have 8. In fact, it should be 6, not 5, right? Am I doing something wrong? No, 18 over 12 is exactly 15, and 1 over 12 would give you the 833. So that should have been 16, not 15. And of course, you don't use the 119 because that's an annual. T's represent the number of years, and here the growth, they wanted monthly. So you have to divide that by 12. If you divide by 12, really you get 1.016, not 15, but they tell you approximate it, so okay, it should be 1. No. Yeah, 1. Yeah, again, I kept saying that should be 16, not 15. And that concludes the first part. I hope it went nicely. If you have any questions, again, as usual, don't hesitate to send me any comments or questions you have, and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, I wish you all the best and see you on Monday for the second part or the rest of the test. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.